In a green sand molding process, uniform ramming leads to greater dimensional stability of the casting. In a green sand molding process, uniform ramming leads to greater dimensional stability of the casting. Surface of to be left unfinished are to be painted black. Those surface which are be left finished or left unfinished painted by black color. Consider the following statement with regard to the feeding system of a casting. The right answer is 1 and 2 and 3, all of the above. The feeder should be thermally adequate. Feeder should be volumetric adequate. Feeder should have adequate feeding range. In feeding system for casting, the feeder should not be thermally adequate, volumetric adequate, and have the adequate feeding range. In any casting process, shrinkage allowance on the pattern is provided in order to compensate for shrinkage when the temperature of solid phase drops from its freezing temperature to room temperature. Solid shrinkage are compensated by giving shrinkage allowance is oversized pattern. Solid shrinkage when the temperature of solid phase drop from its freezing temperature to room temperature. Investment casting is used for Investment casting is used for shapes which are complex, intricate, and cannot be cast by any other method. Investment casting is used for complex shapes which are difficult to produce by any other method are possible since the pattern is withdrawn by melting it. Very fine detail and thin section can be produced by this process. Very close tolerance and better surface finish can be produced. According to the Savinov, following is the correct formula for solidification time Ts, where K is equal to mold casting constant, V is equal to volume of casting, and Sa is equal to surface area. Ts is equal to K into V by Sa ka whole square. According to the Savinov rule, solidification time Ts is equal to K into V by Sa ka whole square, where V is equal to volume of casting or Sa is equal to surface area of casting. Cold chamber die casting is suitable for which of the material listed below? Brass. Cold chamber die casting, in this the furnace is separated from the casting unit. It is used for to produce high melting point material casting. Force required to move the liquid metal into the die will be high when compared to hot chamber die casting. Brass, copper, aluminium, and magnesium is commonly cold die casting metal. Sand and oxide layer adhering to the casting are removed by which of the following process? Shot blasting. Shot blasting is a post-production finishing surface that is produced through the rapid impacting of a part surface with a defined amount of abrasive material. It helps in removing sand and oxidizing layer. Which of the following are provided in mold so as to increase the heat extraction capacity of the sand mold? Chills. Chaplet. Chaplets are used to support the core inside the mold cavity. Chills are the metallic objects which are placed in the mold to increase the heat extraction capacity of the casting. Core used to making the hollow cavities in casting. Cope. Upper part of the molding is cope and lower part is drag. Sometimes molding box contain three parts at that time. Middle part is known as chick. Which of the following is the best suited for the production of hollow pipe? Centrifugal casting. Centrifugal casting is used for making the bigger size hollow symmetrical pipe for producing a hollow part. The axis of rotation is placed at the center of the desired casting. The speed of rotation is maintained as high as to produce a centripetal acceleration of the order of 60 gram to 70 gram. It should be noted casting of hollow parts need no core in this process. If the proportional of oxygen is less than the proportional of acetylene in oxyacetylene gas welding, the flame produced is carburizing flame. A carburizing flame is one in which the supply of acetylene is in excess as compared to the oxygen. If the supply of acetylene is less than supply of the oxygen, then the flame is known as oxidizing flame. If both acetylene and oxygen is in the ratio 1 is to 1, the flame is called neutral flame. The Gating ratio between the Gating ratio refers to the cross sectional area of spur is to runner is to ingate. Gating ratio is spur area is to runner area is to ingate area. Which force is acting on the core when the metal is poured into molding cavity? Buoyancy. As the density of core made of sand is less than the density of metal being poured in the cavity, so there will be an upward buoyancy force on the core. To overcome this force, the core print is used. A reservoir of molten metal provided in the casting so that the hot metal can flow back into the mold cavity due to the reduction in volume of metal due to the solidification is known as riser. A reservoir of molten metal provided in casting so that the hot metal can flow back into the mold cavity due to the reduction in volume of metal due to solidification. Riser compensate of two types, liquid and solidification. The ability of casting material to fill the mold cavity is described by fluidity. The ability of casting material to fill the mold cavity is described by fluidity. Fluidity and ability of metal that and allows to and alloys to flow through the gating system, filling the cavity of the casting mold and conforming its shape. Factor determining the fluidity. Solidification interval. The wider solidification interval of an alloy, the lower fluidity of the alloy. Viscosity. Viscosity of the alloy, the lower viscosity of an alloy, the better is its fluidity. Shrinkage allowance may be expressed in millimeter per meter. Shrinkage allowance may be expressed in per millimeter. The gating system of the casting chalk RA be written as the A where M is equal to mass of casting, rho is equal to density of molten material, H is equal to effective metal height, C is equal to efficiency factor, T is equal to pouring time. The chalk area is equal to A is equal to M by rho T C root under 2GH. Which of the following is not casting defect? Not the casting defect. A stop off. A stop off is not the casting defect. Hot tears, also known as the cracking, are failure in the casting that occurs as the casting cools. Runout. A runout is caused when the molten metal leaks out of the mold caused by faulty mold making or faulty flask. Blowholes. When the gas entrapped on the surface of the casting due to solidifying metal, a round or oval cavity is formed called blowholes. Which of the following process technique does not produce a continuous product? Injection molding. Pultrusion process. Pultrusion process is a continuous molding process whereby reinforcing fibers are saturated with a liquid polymer resin and then carefully formed and pulled through a heated die to form a part. Pultrusion result is a straight constant cross section part of virtually any shippable length. Calendering process. A calendar is a series of hard pressure rollers used to finish or smooth as a sheet of material such as paper, textile, or plastic. Calendar rolls are also used to form some type of plastic films. Injection molding process technique does not produce continuous product. If cube is 100 mm dimension or is to be made of the aluminum shrinkage allowance 10 mm per meter, what will be the dimension of the wooden pattern? Assume one less shrinkage allowance. तो हो जाएगा 100 इंटू 100+1 इंटू 100+1 इंटू 100+1. तो यहाँ पे आ गया आपका 101 इंटू 101 इंटू 101. ऐसा क्यों? यहाँ पे होगा जैसा कि दिया हुआ है ये 10 mm पर मीटर. इसको लिख सकते हैं 10 mm by 1/1000 mm. That implies ये हो जाएगा 10 mm into ओके सॉरी यहाँ पे होगा, ये गलत है. यहाँ पे हो जाएगा 1000. 0 से 0 कैंसिल हो जाएगा, फिर जाके ये बनेगा 1 mm पर 100 mm. इसलिए ये चीज़ लिखा हुआ है. थैंक यू.